On Friday, we spoke about whether or not FAMU achieved continuity. I said that continuity in general is a myth, but I realized we have a difference in philosophy. I shouldn't even have been asking, did they achieve it? I should have been asking, what is continuity? So today we address that. Oh yeah, it's Locked On HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current contributing writer at USA Today Saints Wire. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Make it Locked On HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. Just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Starts with an S and ends with an S. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off your first purchase. We'll wrap up today's episode with a look at a couple of quotes to break down baseball within the Black community as we prepare for the HBCU Swingman Classic at the end of the week. Prior to that, we'll take a look at Erica Leak's impact hire on her UAPB coaching staff. Freddie Murray is at UAPB, and man, this is going to help Leak in the long run, but we want to kick it off by revisiting some comments that I made on Friday about the idea of FAMU and continuity. Now, I think it's important for you to hear Friday's episode first. You don't have to, or just hear it, period, right? Because on there, you'll get into more reasons on why I did not believe that FAMU achieved continuity. However, in those comment sections, you will see a bunch of FAMU fans telling me why they did achieve continuity. And I'll be honest with you, this is my favorite place to respond to anything. There's times I won't even respond to a comment because I'd rather respond to it on my show. And I feel as if I saw 3 to 5 comments, all respectful, which I appreciate. Because sometimes when folk get angry, a little angrier than I feel like they really should be angry, I just shut down like, bro, I ain't even finna talk to y'all. Y'all ain't thinking reasonably. But I realized that FAMU fans in this situation specifically were thinking very reasonably. We just don't agree on what continuity means. Or better yet, we don't agree on the criteria that needs to be met in order to constitute continuity. Because in my opinion, they didn't check a lot of the boxes. Matter of fact, there's one key box that you got to check in order for continuity to be achieved. If you do not bring back your core, you did not achieve continuity. If you cannot, because you can't really say you're the same team. And that's really what continuity means. Now, what I heard often, I think every single FAMU fan who disagreed with me, I don't remember any FAMU fans who agreed. I remember, girl, I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't remember what your team allegiance is. For some reason, I want to say A&T. But anyway, had an A&T fan be like, yeah, I don't really think continuity exists in collegiate football either. That was my premise, is that continuity isn't real. Like, let's forget about FAMU for a second. FAMU didn't achieve it, and I don't think that it can be achieved. Then FAMU came and told me coaching determines continuity. I don't agree with that. What I can say is that there's a stability that comes from keeping in-house, right? Like from hiring from within, there is a stability that comes with that. But I wouldn't consider that stability to be continuity. The philosophy stays the same. And I think that it's not something that I undervalued, but I think when expressing it, I didn't express that enough. In my expression, maybe it was a little bit undervalued. But how I feel, I mean, there's some validity to the idea that bringing in James Colzie keeps this team stable. I do think that it takes away a certain step within the offseason of having to learn a completely new system all the way around. I do believe that it allows for those veteran players who have been here for a couple of years to mentor the young players because they have experience in this specific system, specifically on the defensive side, right? So like you have those aspects of similarity. You have those aspects of rollover. But what I would consider FAMU to have is consistency as opposed to continuity. And both are in reference to similarities, right? Like we just seem like we just throwing out terms here, but like follow me. Consistency and continuity are both ways to describe a certain level of similarity. But for me, the operative word there is level. Continuity is higher than consistency. Consistency is some rollover. Continuity is a lot of rollover. And in my opinion, I said at the beginning, I'll say it again, if you didn't roll over your core, you did not achieve continuity. Even if I want to give a little bit of grace and say, you know what, you didn't have this, you didn't, fam, you lost the whole core. They lost the offensive leader. They lost the defensive leader. They lost the head coach. But let's take the head coach out because we already know that's the reason we're having this conversation. You lost Jeremy Musa and you lost Isaiah Major. That's before I even get to the people in the transfer portal. In my opinion, if you did not return your core, you did not achieve continuity. You don't even have your quarterback. You don't have the leaders of those two units. Then you get to the front line on the defense. Completely different. There's too much change for me to say you had continuity. Ain't that what continuity means? To continue, you ain't continue. You are completely new. For example, let's take a team that won the national championship. Yes, FAMU did, but let's just change it and take FAMU out of it. You take a team that had the national championship, won the national championship, and they lose all their players. It's not the same as a team that had a bunch of sophomores and juniors who are coming back for their junior and senior seasons. The way that we speak about those teams are different. Having all of your roster with different coaching staffs is much different than having a completely different roster with the same coaching staff. The way that we talk about it is just different, right? So when we speak about continuity, you have to have the full package. So I know it may seem like I'm playing a game of semantics, and I'm genuinely not, but I realize we have a different definition on what continuity means. You simply believe that because the coach is there and he was already there, some of the philosophy is going to be the same. Some of the things that are important are going to be the same. Maybe the way that we run practice will be the same. So we'll have a level of consistency, and I agree with that. I just don't think that it's reached the level of continuity because you have too much change. It's too much change. I could even argue, though I won't do it today, I could even argue that roster makeup is the most important part of continuity because we know the coach is changing. See, to me, I think the reason I ain't expressed it because I still got to see what James Colzie is as a coach. And that's where my mind is at when I think about coaching. What is James Colzie like as a coach? That's the way that I think about it. I think that roster makeup is the most important part. I really do. I really do. So that's kind of where I look at it. Coaching, the similarities in coaching are not enough to constitute continuity. The similarities in coaching are not enough to constitute continuity. What it does say is that there is a level of stability. What it does say is there's a level of consistency. And those words are similar to continuity. But I believe to achieve true continuity, you have to retain your core. You don't have to retain your core to have some consistency. You don't have to retain your core to have some stability, but there is no some continuity, right? Like if we're just being honest, I'm talking about true continuity, and that was always the theme. And maybe I just had the wrong criteria. I'm not here to say that your criteria is wrong because this was all about a coaching search. So maybe I just was maybe I was overthinking this. But I know what I believe continuity to be. And from the comments that I got from Rattler Nation, I know what you believe continuity to be. And I realize that we don't view it the same. So instead of questioning whether or not FAMU achieved this standard, we should have been talking about what is this standard and how do we define it. And I hope that we did that today. So this was my response to Rattler Nation. Once again, much appreciation for the respect. Hopefully, if you do comment again, we can get that same level of respect. I understand where y'all coming from. I just do not agree with it. I just have a different criteria, and that's fine. But as we push forward, I think that no matter the criteria that you're looking at, Freddie Murray to UAPB is a huge hire. And quite frankly, I think it's going to be the biggest hire that Erica Leak. No, I think it's going to be the biggest addition, roster, or coaching staff that Erica Leak makes this year. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime, and Gametime is the best place for all of your last-minute ticket deals. I understand that there's not as many sporting events as you may be wanting to go to. There's less WNBA teams in all of these cities, right? So you may not have the opportunity to go to that. You may not go to baseball, whether you're a baseball fan or not. I don't know. But at the same time, maybe you're traveling. Maybe you just so happen to stop off in Chicago and you want to see what the Chicago sky is talking about. Maybe you just so happen to take a trip to Vegas and you want to see what the Las Vegas Aces are looking like. Maybe you're whatever. Maybe you want to go to maybe you're in Toronto and you want to see what the Blue Jays are doing. These are all options. But you know what? Let's not limit you to simply being a sports fan. Maybe you want to go see a concert. Maybe you want to go see a play. Maybe you want to go to a comedy show. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be sports. Gametime still has you covered with all of the tickets. All you have to do is go to download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get a $20 off credit on your first purchase. And trust me, they're going to incentivize you to make that first purchase, but anyone who's used the app will tell you the first purchase is not your last. So go ahead and download the Gametime app today and take advantage of all the deals. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On Sports Today. It's the first of its kind, 24/7, all day, every day, live sports network on YouTube. We can get all of the biggest stories. I ain't mad at you for wanting to collect them, but how about you get them from the local experts who know more inside knowledge than anyone else that you can catch on national TV. Now, that being said, Freddie Murray will pay huge dividends for Erica Leak and UAPB basketball, women's basketball specifically. The Golden Lions just rounded out their coaching staff over the weekend. They made the first announcement, which was Freddie Murray, on July 5th. So that was Friday. And then they made the last decision on Sunday, July 7th. And in this coaching staff, you brought in Freddie Murray, you brought in Xavier Johnson, and then you brought in Rod Woods. So, yeah, you brought in some people. Don't get me wrong. But we know who the star is. We know who the headliner is. And I'm here to tell you that not only is Freddie Murray the biggest hire that Erica Leak has made in her coaching staff over the weekend, I believe that Freddie Murray is going to be the biggest addition to UAPB this year, specifically to benefit Erica Leak. Because when you look at who Erica Leak is and what she has in her experience that she's had, all right, that's the best way to put it. When you look at Erica Leak's experience, she hasn't coached on a collegiate level yet. So if I'm a coach who's coming in from the high school ranks, right, and I understand that she was a former player, but we're talking specifically about the coaching experience. If I'm a coach who's coming into a level that I've never coached at before, I want to go get somebody who has succeeded on this level. And that's what she just did with Freddie Murray. And I believe if there's an acclimation period, which it should be because she's coming from the high school ranks to college, Freddie Murray makes this acclimation a little bit faster. Let's expedite this thing, because I understand that as Leak, like, let me put myself in Erica Leak's shoes. If I'm Coach Leak and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this situation, I can look to my right and I can see somebody who's already been here. I can look to my right and I can see somebody who has already done this. And not only done it, he's done this on a high level. When you look at what Freddie Murray was able to do at Grambling, of course you got Chicago Hill, right? And she was absolutely bonkers. Made it to the NCAA tournament, was a 15 seed. Made it to the WNIT tournament, won a game there. Won a SWAC regular season title, won a SWAC tournament title. You're looking at a coach who has been very successful. And you heard the conference I said, SWAC. So he's been specifically in this conference. He was here last year with Alabama A&M just for a year. Now he's coming over to UAPB. Kind of funny because you look at Don Thornton, who made that same change but in inverse. But if I'm Erica Leak and I'm trying to make this transition, I think having somebody like Freddie Murray on my coaching staff gives me a huge boost. Having somebody like Freddie Murray gives me a huge boost because I know that in these situations in which I may be a little bit uncertain because I've never been here before, and listen, Murray is not going to be the shot caller. He's going to be answering. He's going to be under, as far as on the pecking order, he's going to be under Leak. It's not like he's going to be making all decisions and she's going to be a figurehead. So please don't let me get it there. But there's going to be bumps in the road. As a first-year head coach, there's always going to be bumps in the road. And when you come to these bumps, that's my thing. There's always going to be bumps in the road for a first-year head coach. As a first-year head coach, when you do come on to these bumps in the road, how about having somebody who's already driven over the speed bump, right? Let's put it this way. Erica Leak has been a high school head coach, but collegiate coaching is a different beast. It has different challenges, whether that be recruiting, dealing with NIL now. Like, it has different things. And I guess he didn't have experience with NIL. But the point is, this is like getting into a car and learning how to drive. You don't just, I don't know about y'all, but I ain't just hop in the car and learn how to drive. I had somebody show me how to drive because they had done this before. And that's kind of what you're seeing with Erica Leak. She's getting a great level of assistance, and no pun intended with him being an assistant, but you're just looking at this situation as a level of aid whenever you need it, because you know that this is a reputable source to lean on. Okay. That's the way that I look at this. And I think that this impact can't be measured, y'all. It can't be measured because it may not show up in wins and losses. It will show up in development of Erica Leak as a head coach. And you may not even see that in year 1. You may see that year 2, 3, 4. Because when you look at her coaching experience, Forest City, West Memphis, she's a high school coach who's now coming up to the collegiate ranks. I don't know what kind of growing pains she'll have, but I do know that at some point, unless she's just the second coming of Phil Jackson, every first-year head coach has their own certain challenges that they come across. She'll be no different. Murray's done that already. Let's lean on him. Of course, you still have Xavier Johnson coming in as a recruiting guy. You still have Rod Woods, who has kind of front court responsibilities. He was responsible for post play at his past school, and he actually even had the freshman of the year on that. You look at Leak, who was a guard back in the day. You look at Murray, who had Chicago Hill, who was also a guard when she was at Grambling. Excuse me. Maybe these things all come into play. We'll see. But to me, just this move in the experience and the assistance that he can give somebody who is trying to make that leap to the collegiate ranks can't be undervalued. Hopefully I didn't say that too many times. I have that problem when I get long-winded, but I hope I didn't do that today. But as we push forward, I'm not going to be doing so much talking. I'm going to take quotes that I got from the HBCU Swingman Luncheon. I'm going to take quotes that I got from online and things that I've read, and I'm going to compile them with some of the stuff that I've heard to look at the state of baseball in the Black community as we continue with Locked On HBCU. As we wrap up today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day, every day, making it all the way to segment 3, and I thank you 2 times for that. Thank you. Thank you. Now, as we wrap up today's episode, let's look at baseball in the Black community. This is a big one. Admittedly so, this is a big topic. The HBCU Swingman Classic is this Friday, and as I was sitting in the media luncheon, I was thinking about what was I going to ask our guest, and I wanted to know, how did they feel about baseball in the Black community? The reason I wanted to is because I sit here and I'm not a big baseball guy. That's not my cup of tea. I think in life it's important to know your strengths and your weaknesses, and this will be a good example of it. But that's not my thing. I can't come on here and speak about baseball in the Black community just off me, just period. That not my frame of reference. I wouldn't be able to tell the full story. I wouldn't be able to get into some of the ins and outs either. But that's the story that we look at today, because it's about taking risk. And to me, this is an opportunity to be a little risky and paint a story. Now, one of my favorite things about doing this show, one of my favorite things about being in sports media is research. I'm a nerd, y'all. I like to research. Like, something about accumulating this knowledge. I don't do it often as much as I would like to. But when I do it, it's very satisfying to me. And this is no different. So I had to look up a bunch of things. And the other part that I love is telling stories. And in this, I was able to combine the two, because me not being a big baseball guy, it doesn't allow me to just come on here and just speak from the heart off rip. I got to look some stuff up. I got to hear how people are talking so I don't sound like a bozo. I can't sound like I can't sound like an idiot on this show. So with that, I look up different quotes, but I also wanted to ask people at the media luncheon how they felt. It's my goal to try to get the HBCU Swingman Classic in every single episode this week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I know for sure we'll have 2. The next time that we talk about it, it'll be about Cam Buford. I expect that to be on Friday because there was some really good comments from one of the guests about Cam Buford. But I was reading an article about Ernest Wharton, right? And they asked him what motivated him to establish Black Baseball Media. That was the name of his company. And his response was, we want to change the narrative of Blacks not playing baseball at a high level and provide resources to players, educate parents, and uplift programs. There are hundreds of African Americans across the country playing baseball at a high level. It just was not made visible. It's time to control our narrative. Okay, that's cool, right? That's one part of it. But here's my thing. I grew up, I didn't know anybody as a youth when I was a youth. I didn't know anybody who played baseball. I didn't. I played football. I had no interest in playing baseball. I may have did T-ball at some point, but I can't even remember if that was in the Boys and Girls Club or if I was really playing T-ball. Like, that was not my cup of tea, and I didn't know anybody whose cup of tea that was until I got to high school. And that was something that I seen somebody speak about when talking about the Dream series, about how, hey, when I was growing up, all my friends played football and basketball. I was the one who was the odd man out, so to speak, not being a weird one, but like just an odd man out because they was over there doing that. I was over here doing this. And that can happen. One of my friends and I, it was just like, man, he was playing basketball, I was playing football. The difference in time was what it just changes the relationship. And sometimes you feel like you're missing out. So I can only imagine how he was as a youth feeling that way, probably like 10 years old, like, man, what's going on? I can't hang out with so-and-so and whoop-de-whoop. But anyway, this is kind of what we live with in the Black community, and it's about approaching it from a different lens. So I wanted to take two comments from the media luncheon about the state of baseball in the Black community, and I want to talk about those as we close out today's episode.
Yeah, I think I feel really good about it. I mean, we've seen a lot of players in the past few years that have been drafted that have gone into professional baseball. We see more players playing at the Division I level. And so what we're trying to do is spread the word about all of this good news and the good opportunity and the players that are now matriculating to the major leagues. And so I think as we can spread the word, more people will continue to play the game. Young women playing softball and having the opportunity to play softball at HBCUs or Division I schools along with the boys just creates excitement for our game. And so to be here in Dallas, next year we'll be in Atlanta, just excited to engage those communities around our sport and hopefully create lifelong fans.
Well, you know, it's ever evolving, you know, and one of the things that I applaud MLB, MLBPA, YDF is the fact that we're doing things to promote the game. Baseball is a very, very expensive game, and any efforts that can be made towards helping facilitate the guys playing, I'm all for. But one of the things that, for me, you know, my son runs a large travel ball organization, but for me, it's more important to develop yourself as an athlete. Playing multiple sports, working on speed, strength, and agility, more important than even actually going around playing these travel ball tournaments. So the message needs to be develop as an athlete, and that will take you much, much farther than just going out paying big money for tournaments.
Now, I love that last quote. I love that quote because what it does is it addresses, and I probably should just clip that one because of the time we had, but whatever, I had already pre-made this clip. What I do love is that it addresses what the issue is. Finances, right? Like that's always what's tied in. Anytime you hear about him speak about, whether that's him, whether that's somebody else, when they speak about the differences or the difficulties, I should say, in getting baseball to be more prevalent within the Black community, the Black youth community, and playing it, a lot of times what it comes down to is, hey man, that ain't cheap. Football is cheaper, basketball is cheaper, baseball isn't. But what he did, and I appreciate this because what he did is he said, listen, I understand that there is a limit and there is something that is keeping you back from doing this. But at the same time, if those are restrictions, let me tell you what else you could do. Go become a better athlete. You don't have to play baseball to become a better athlete. Playing baseball probably get you some of the intricacies, probably get you some of the techniques, probably get you some of those things. But at the same time, if you go out and you perform in other sports, you'll be able to get the lateral agility. You'll be able to get the vertical. You'll be able to get all of this training. You'll be able to get the hand-eye coordination. You'll be able to get those things. Maybe go play wide receiver. May prepare you a little bit for what you may have to deal with in the outfield, right? Like those are different things. Play quarterback, right? Because you see a lot of quarterbacks who played baseball. It's a little bit of cross training, even if it's not a direct one-to-one. It is a little some of an overlap a little bit. So I thought that was good. That was Reggie Waller who had that last quote. And I think the HBCU Swingman Classic is great because it allows people who are watching to see brothers play baseball. Yes, they're at the collegiate ranks. It doesn't matter because this is a prominent event. And you see a young black kid in the stands who's going to see this, and they may be introduced to baseball as something relatable. They probably already knew what baseball was, but by seeing a bunch of black people on the field playing it, it now feels relatable. For example, I could see somebody playing cricket, right? Like I don't know too many black folks playing cricket or lacrosse. I don't know too many black folks playing lacrosse. I'm fully aware of what lacrosse is. I know what it is. I've seen it. Matter of fact, I got something saying in my Twitter bookmarks about this really cool goal from a lacrosse game that I saw earlier today. Wasn't a black dude doing it. Maybe doesn't quite feel like something that we do. May not feel like something I want to go embark upon learning how to do. But once, if I was a kid, I'm a little grown now, so I can make my decisions on myself. But as a kid, maybe 10 years old, I seen baseball. And I see black folks playing baseball. And I think that this is one of the underrated things about the HBCU Swingman Classic is the impact that it can have on the youth within the crowd, not only what it can do for the players. So I thought that was really cool. And I'll see what else we can do moving forward. Like I said, I know we're going to speak about Cam Bradford or Buford. And I just don't know when. Probably be Friday. That'll probably be Friday. So if we don't have anything on Wednesday, we just won't have anything. I'm not going to force it, but I would like to preview the HBCU Swingman Classic every single episode. There's only 3 this week, so I would like to preview it all the way throughout the week. But in the meantime, in between time, we'll be back with you on Wednesday. Until the next time that we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.